To get started on this exercise, you should have downloaded the Outdoors 25 RF zip file. If you unzip this file and open up the folder, you can see there's a variety of different pictures that we're going to use to create these digital mockups. The first one we want to open is the tanks JPEG. Let's jump into Photoshop and go up to File, down to Open, locate the Outdoors folder, and then locate the tanks JPEG. When you say open, this will open it up. The first thing we want to do to this image is to clean up some of the trash that's down here at the bottom. In order to see things better, I'm going to use my zoom tool and then click and drag, or just click a couple of times till we zoom into this white portion down here at the bottom. The tool that we want to use to quickly fill in this area is known as our patch tool. To find the patch tool, it may be hiding underneath some of your other tools that are nested inside of this area. If you click and hold on the Spot Healing Brush tool or the Healing Brush tool that's usually located around this area, here's where you can find the patch tool. With this tool, you can click and drag around an area. So notice now that it's got a marquee that selects those pixels. Then pay attention to the options here at the top. We want to change the patch blending mode from normal to content aware. This will allow us to look at the area that's around these pixels and fill it in. We want to find some similar looking pixels. So I'm going to click on the inside of this now and drag it over. And you can see how it's pretty close to what's around this area. When I let go, it's going to make a copy of those pixels and try to blend it into this area. To deselect, do Command D, and now it looks really good. We can use the same tool to clean up some other parts of this area too. So scrolling over, simply circle the area that you want to remove, and then click and drag until you reach and find an area that looks very similar to it to copy and paste from there. Sometimes it may take multiple selections to make it look nice and realistic. Take some time and go through and copy, paste, and remove any of the little trash that you see along this edge. Just remember, you can Command D to deselect and try to get it to match up the flow of the image itself. When you're finished, let's go up to View and choose Fit on Screen to zoom out so you can see the entire thing. If there's any other parts that you missed, you can also select those and clean those up now as well. Finally, when you're finished, let's go up to File, down to Save As, and let's save it as a Photoshop document. By default, this is a JPEG, so we want to change this from JPEG to Photoshop, but keep the same name for that. We'll say Save. Then we can go up to our X and close it out. Next, let's go back up to File and Open, and let's locate the Studio JPEG. Say Open to bring it into Photoshop. In this image, we want to be able to replace the color of this upper facade on the building. Now there's a couple of ways we can do this in Photoshop. If you go up to Image, Adjustment, you can tell it to replace any given color on a given area. Now this works by using your eyedropper selection tools to click on the area that you want to select. In this case, you can also adjust the fuzziness until you get just the white area that you want to be selected. Notice, however, we got a little bit of a problem. It does a good job of selecting this area, but it also starts to pick up on some other areas as well. As we increase the fuzziness, you can see how it does pick up a better job, but still it's picking up a lot more than is necessary. So we're going to hit Cancel and not do the Replace Color just yet. If we go down to our Layers panel, notice that the image is on the background layer. Let's make a copy of this layer. You can do this by holding down the Command key, or the Control key on your keyboard, or you can right-click on it and choose Duplicate Layer. This will ask you to give it a name, and we'll keep it the default name and say OK. And now notice that you have a copy of your background on top of your Layers panel. Now that we've got a copy created, let's go back up to Image, Adjustments, and let's do the Replace Color on this copied layer. One more time, you can use your selection tools to click on the brown area of this top facade, and let's drag it all the way to the right till it fully selects this upper area. With it selected, we can then play around with the hue, saturation, and lightness until it turns a nice red. So clicking on this, let's drag this. Looks like we need to drag it to the left. Okay, that's starting to turn it red. We can make it more red by bringing up the saturation, and we can make it a darker red by bringing down our lightness. So around -50, +50, -50 will give you a pretty good result. Yours don't have to be exactly like mine, but we can say okay once you get this result. Now that we've got this entire thing selected as red, let's create a layer mask to mask off just this upper portion that we want to keep. In order to create it, the book is pretty unclear on exactly what to do, but we need to make a selection. I'm going to use my quick selection tool. Then make sure we're working in normal adding mode. With this tool selected, you can click and drag over just the top area, and you can see how it very quickly adds on and selects all of these like pixels on the very top. Now it does get a little bit more than necessary, so we need to subtract away from this shadow edge. Let's go back and now work in subtract mode. Inside of subtract mode, very carefully just nibble away at this lower edge by clicking and dragging until it takes away all of those pixels. It may take a couple of clicks and drags, and if you go too far, that's okay. Swap it back over to plus mode. You may need to make your brush a little bit smaller, and then you can click and add on those pixels. Once you have this entire upper area selected, let's create a layer mask. We can go up to Layer, down to Layer Mask, and this time choose Reveal Selection. Notice what it adds to your layer. We've got a layer mask that only selects the red layer, and it's only shown on top of this area. With this done, we can merge this layer onto our background layer. If you'll Control or right-click on the layer, you can tell it to merge down, and this will bring both of those into one solid layer. Finally, the book asks you to get rid of any of the white streaks up at the very top on this facade. There's a couple of ways that we can do this. Probably the easiest tool is hiding underneath your patch tool, which will be the Spot Healing Brush tool. This works like a brush, so we can change the size of it. I'm going to make mine a little bit smaller. Around 10 to 15 pixels should be good enough. From here, you can go in and click over any area that are little white streaks, and it will automatically heal up those areas by looking at the pixels that are around it. So take just a moment and try to get rid of as many as you can see on here. If you miss a couple, that's okay. Just try to get as many as you can by simply clicking and dragging with this healing brush. With this done, we can zoom back out. Let's go up to File and down to Save As. And one more time, let's save this as a Photoshop document. Let's close out the file. The next one we want to open up is going to be our Office JPEG. Another way you can open up images is by simply dragging the file itself into Photoshop, and it's dragged into here and now opened up. The other thing we can do with this image is we need to lighten up some of the shadows. In order to do this, let's go to File, down to Adjustments. Let's choose our Highlights and Shadows. From here, we got a variety of sliders that allow us to control our shadow amount or our highlight amount. Let's keep the highlight down low. Make sure Preview is turned on. Let's bring up our shadows to be about 15%. It's really subtle, but when we say OK, you can go before and after by going up to Edit and Undo, or Edit and Redo both of the shadows. This is all that we need to do to adjust this one, so let's go up to File and do a Save As. And once again, make sure it's a Photoshop format and say Save, and we can close this one out too. Finally, for this stage, let's open up the balloon image. File and Open. Choose Balloon JPEG. and say open. Now, up until this point, all of the different edits we've been doing have been under the image and adjustment. Whenever you do these adjustments to a layer, this is going to completely change all the pixels to that design and to that file. This means once it's saved, you won't be able to undo or go back to the original image that you had. Another way you can apply adjustments can be found at the bottom of your Layers panel. I'm going to pull open my layers just so you can see it. At the very bottom of your Layers panel are a set of icons, and in the middle, these are also all of the different types of adjustments that you can do to your design. For this one, let's open up the Hue and Saturation adjustment. Notice that when you select it, it adds a new layer on top of your design, and it opens up your Properties panel. This new layer is an adjustment layer that gives you the ability to make controls to any of the layers that are below it. This means if I, in my Properties panel, start to make changes, you can see how it will adjust and change everything that's underneath it. Now for this one, we only want to adjust the yellow colors that are on this image. So in order to select just the yellows, go to your Properties and choose your master to be yellows. This way it's only going to affect those colors. Let's lighten it up by choosing the lightness, and bring it all the way to the very top. You can see how all the yellows have now turned to a white. We've got a little bit of a problem though. While I got rid of the yellow in my balloon, it also got rid of the yellow in my basket, and I didn't want to do that. That's okay. Every layer adjustment also comes with a layer mask. With the mask selected, by clicking on it, you can go over to your tools and select your paintbrush tool. Go down to your color and make sure your foreground color is set to be a solid black and say OK. Finally, let's go up to our options and choose the hard round brush. Make sure the hardness is at 100%, and we can bring the size of it down to be about 35 or so pixels. If it's off by a little bit, that's okay. Do make sure your opacity is at 100%. Then we can go back on here and we can paint back on the yellow by painting inside of this basket area. If you'll check out our little adjustment layer, you can see there's a little black dot that represents the mask that we painted off to undo the yellow change that we did. One more time, let's go up to File and down to Save As. Make sure you have Photoshop set as your format and click Save. And then we can finally close this one out.